Hello, everybody, and welcome to Andrew Thrive's Small Business Webinars. Today is Thursday, October 10th, and you are attending one of our weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. I hope all of you are doing well today, and welcome to our webinars. If you have been attending our webinar, you attended our webinars before, and you've been enjoying them, you found them helpful. We always appreciate your support. If this is your first time attending one of our webinars, welcome. We hope you stay with us for this, as well as many others that we have planned for the rest of the year. My name is Uzma. I'm your host for NJ Thrives webinars, and I'm a consultant here at NJSBDC, which stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers. We are a network and a statewide program powered by the SBA, Small Business Administration, and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three main things. And those things are no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, just like this one, and exclusive small business resources. If you'd like to learn more about our program, this statewide program, go to njsbdc.com. You can also find out where our regional centers, as well as state office and satellite office, are located, which, as you can see on the map here on the screen, that is, of course, the state of New Jersey. And wherever you see the small SBDC logos are where our 11 locations, including Vintage City, and NJSBDC at Vintage City, which is one of our satellite offices, our state office in Newark, and our other regional centers. If you are attending this webinar, but you are not a New Jersey resident or a small business owner, the SBDC program is a nationwide program funded and powered by the SBA. So definitely check out the SBDC program in your state if you are attending out of state. So the agenda, we have a couple of headlines to present to you, and then we have a presentation from our speaker and the Q&A session. These are the small business headlines of the week, and we have a couple of things to go over, which are the SBA awards, the NJEDA, things like that from the small business resources. And these are just things that are happening in the state of New Jersey or relevant to business owners in New Jersey, as well as nationwide. First is a press release from the SBA. Definitely recommend that you keep an eye out in the press release section of the SBA website at least, because there's always updates and articles. Now, SBA awards $9 million in grants to 49 organizations across America to help underserved communities access development funding and innovative research. I'm always happy to share good news that includes our organization as well, because for New Jersey, we're one of the organizations that received this award. So Rutgers, the State of University, who hosts our state office, as well as 2 or 3 other locations, we were awarded this, and this is what helps fund our tech program, which we have for innovative small businesses. So these this is called fast funding, of course. I'll just take a minute to go over this. Powered by the SBA and other 11 federal agencies of the SBIR SCTR programs. This is available in almost every state so that entrepreneurs with great ideas can invent, commercialize, and build with the America's Seed Fund. So SBR stands for Small Business Innovation Research. SCTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer. Anyway, in a nutshell, we'd like you to know that if you are interested in something like this, then check out our tech team. Second is a press release from NJEDA. NJEDA, Kane University, and ICIC partner to bring national education program for underserved construction contractors to New Jersey. Applications for the tuition-free program are now open. All right, so ICIC's initiative for a competitive inner city to bring building for growth to the state of New Jersey. Tuition-free program that provides construction companies education and tools to help them increase capacity and develop sustainable growth. Again, these links are being shared. I'm going through them very briefly to save time. NJD expands NJ Cool eligibility requirements. $15 million pilot program aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. What is that? They will provide grants up to $1 million to eligible hard construction costs for emissions reducing projects. Links are given if you're interested, and the email is also given to find out more. Third is from the Morris County Economic Development Corporation. NJDOL announces $2.2 million in grants to boost access to worker benefits and protections. Let's see, this is a grant program to 24 organizations. And let's see. Okay, so community organizations, worker centers, service providers, all of these have received these grants. If you're interested, definitely check the link out. And the fifth is the NSF Corps Hub Northeast region. This is related to SBIR, CTR, startups and businesses. Connect, celebrate, grow. This is an in-person event that is happening, which you can register for. And there's the agenda, of course. These are the speakers, the sponsors, everyone who will be attending. And let's see, when is it actually happening? I'm pretty sure this is happening on October 15th, next Tuesday. So there is that. You can register from that link. Things to keep in mind, type questions in the Q&A box, not the chat box. We'd like to address your questions at the end in a Q&A session. If you'd like to receive the slides from our speaker today, please complete a brief survey. And this webinar is being recorded. Link will be shared in the chat as to where it is available. It is our YouTube channel, and you can find out more there. And today's, if you have attended our webinars before, you're familiar with Vanessa Schwartz, who is one of our startup consultants. And this is part 1 of 2 series, choosing the right business structure in NJ for long-term success. So keep an eye out for part 2 that will be happening soon. Vanessa, welcome. Thank you for doing this as for us as always. And I have stopped sharing. Go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you so much, Uzma. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. Okay, so choosing the right business structure in New Jersey. So this is part 1 of 2. We're coming to you today to say and to remind everybody that here at the NJSBDC, we'd like to be your mentor. We'd like to assist you at all phases of your growth, from start to growing, through certifications, through loan prep, through business plans, strategic planning, whatever we can do to assist you in order to for you to achieve success, we're here. So we're going to take it from the beginning, and usually that is regarding a startup. We have to figure out what type of business structure that we're going to use. So we'll talk about that today, and we'll get into that. And then I believe sometime in November, part 2 to this presentation is going to be discussing business planning, creating a business plan, from both the qualitative written piece to the quantitative forecasting and understanding of the financials. We're going to address that in our part 2. And then we want you to know along the way, we will assist you. We'll help you get started, and we'll help you move forward so that we can then jump to the next phase of this conversation, which is getting that business plan written and going. So with that, we'll start. This is going to be just a quick review, once again, of the different business structures that you have open to you if you'd like to start a business. We're going to talk a little bit about the formation and registration process, a little bit about the state and how the state regulates certain industries in New Jersey that might apply to you. There might be additional licenses that you may need in order to conduct business. A little bit on funding and cash management. Now that's going to get more discussed in a business planning conversation, but certainly even before you get that business formed and registered, you're going to be thinking ahead of time, well, how much money do I need? How much money do I really want to have in place before I even go ahead and form that LLC and register that business? And then additional resources and needs that needs that you may have, resources that are available to you when you're thinking through getting started on this journey. So we're going to talk about the different structures, with the first being sole proprietorship. The most simple way that for you as an individual to conduct business is to operate as a sole proprietor. All that means is you, the person, are transacting business and collecting income from that transaction. It's relatively inexpensive to do. If you'd like to operate beyond just using your name as a business name, you can apply for a trade name. Trade names are done and filed for through your county clerk's office. Costs about $50 or $60 to obtain a trade name. It's not necessarily going to be unique over the course of the state, that name, but it should be a unique name within your county. And you can use your tax ID as your social security number, if you'd like. Or if you want, you can also go ahead, go to the IRS and get a free tax ID number called an employer identification number. Either way is perfectly acceptable. We do encourage sole proprietors to go ahead, take advantage, get the tax ID from the IRS, so that way your social security number isn't being passed around unnecessarily because it's your tax ID. Sometimes you're going to be asked for it, or you have to fill out, say, paperwork, and you're throwing your social security around. You can get an EIN, but you do not have to when you're a sole proprietor. You can use your personal bank account. Simple. You sell something, you provide a service, you can take the money, you can have them Venmo, you can deposit it right into a personal account, and you can commingle with your personal funds. Your tax filing, very simple, is it's considered a disregarded entity. That's how the federal government, the IRS, looks at your taxes. You do not need a separate tax return. You just take a Schedule C, which is an IRS federal filing, and you attach it to your personal income tax return. And that Schedule C will reflect the sales, the expenses, and ultimately your net income from your business. There is no legal separation between your assets and between yourself as the business owner, as well as your personal. And with that comes no liability protection. So as simple as it is, the one downside of a sole proprietorship is that you're not protected. If you were to be sued, if you were to run into a debt issue, if you were to have any kind of financial struggle or litigation, your personal assets are at risk. So if you're thinking of a continuum in terms of business structures, so you have your sole proprietor all the way on the left as a structure. The next level up is now what I like to call getting into the business entity world. And I like to differentiate between structure and entity. Once you get into an entity, you are now looking at a structure that is separate from you personally. So think of an entity as another separate from you structure, if you will. So the limited liability company now lets you have a lot of the perks and the simplicity of a sole proprietor. However, you are now also given some liability protection. So what does that mean? Now we are talking about estate filing. It says no longer just on the, getting that trade name from your county clerk's office. This is done through the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services, through the Department of State, all filed online. You apply for a unique business name in the state of New Jersey, and you file what's known as Articles of Formation. It costs $125 to form an LLC in New Jersey. And in order to maintain that liability protection and to keep the business in good standing, it's $75 a year. So we call it filing an annual report. It's nothing other than logging into your portal, paying your $75, and now you're good for the next year in terms of keeping your LLC in good standing with the state of New Jersey. You are now required to have a tax ID. You do go to the IRS. It is free. Does not cost anything. You go to the IRS, you apply for your EIN. The business name on the application must match the business name on your articles of formation. You are good to go. With that, you must go to the bank. You must open a separate business bank account. You can no longer transact business and have all that money flow into your personal bank account. It has to run through a business account. And in terms of taxation, the thing to take away from this, and we can always talk about this in more specifics. If you make an appointment, we can review it with you. But LLC owners are allowed to choose how they wish to be taxed. Whether you decide to be taxed as a single member, Schedule C filer, that is an allowance for you and an option for you when you're one owner. If you're more than one owner, the default taxation does go to a partnership tax filing, which is your Form 1065. And either if you're a single member or a multi-member, member means owner, in LLC terminology, you have the choice to opt to change to be taxed as an S Corp. So just know that there's choices, and these are all related to what works best for you from a tax perspective. Any which way, you are still protected. You're a limited liability company, and you have that separation. And just keep in mind, when you are more than one owner, when you're considered a multi-member LLC, you are required to have an operating agreement. It doesn't have to be done by a lawyer, although, please think anything that's relating to legality, if it gets complicated, it might be in your best interest to work with a lawyer on this. But at a minimum, as a multi-member LLC, you will have to outline in an operating agreement each of the members' roles, responsibilities, financial contributions, profit distributions, and if the business were to dissolve tomorrow, how would you distribute your assets? Next up on the continuum is your corporation that has the strongest liability protection. It is the most sound in terms of business entities out there. It's more paperwork. It's more expensive to run. It requires more administrative duties. You must have a set of bylaws. Corporations need board of directors. You have to have shareholder meetings. You have to have paperwork. Even if you're small, you could be one person. You can have a corporation. You need a board of directors, or you need a minimum amount. There is, there are rules on how many members of directors that you need in order to run your corporation. The paperwork has to be organized, and you do need a separate tax return for this company. Corporations are file separate tax returns, and in and of themselves are subject to corporate tax rates. So if you're a small business and you file, you own you're part of a corporation and you run your taxes, you will be taxed at the corporate level and you'll be taxed at the shareholder level. So that can be burdensome. So that's why we'll talk about it a little bit in the next slide. There is an option for corporations to file for subchapter S, tax designation. You've heard it referred to as an S Corp. It's a tax designation that allows for the smaller businesses or those that want to avoid double taxation can get around having to pay a corporate tax rate. The income will flow directly to the shareholders. But just know that whether you're a sole proprietor, you're a limited liability company, or you're a corporation, once you create the business, you then have an obligation to register the business. Please know that each business entity, and in the case of the sole proprietor, if you decide to choose that structure, must then, in a separate step, be registered with the Division of Taxation, and that's for tax purposes. So just a little bit about S Corps. Just know the one thing I want you to take away from today is S Corps aren't so much types of businesses as they are tax designations. All right, so you're either a corporation that decides to become an S Corp for mostly tax and administrative and cost purposes, or you can be a LLC and opt to be taxed as a S Corp. Doesn't mean that you become an S Corp. It just means, whereas, corporations can become recognized as S Corps. That's why you have, this word corp still in there. But separate from that, when you're an LLC, as I mentioned earlier, you do have the option to choose to be taxed as a S Corp if and when that may be more tax advantageous to you. That's something you would discuss with an accountant. Typically, people choose to move away from that Schedule C or that 1065 tax filing and opt for an S Corp tax designation when they meet a certain income threshold. As LLC owners, we are owners. We are not employees of our company, and therefore we are always subject to self-employment taxes. And after a certain while, that can be quite burdensome. You have to pay into all your federal, your state, your unemployment, your Medicaid, Social Security. And so what some businesses choose to do at a certain point, they speak with their accountant and they run the numbers kind of both ways. And if you have a steady income and you're making a certain amount of money, it could be more tax advantageous for you to change the tax designation to an S Corp, put yourself, the owner, on payroll, and now you are now an employee of your company as well as the employer and the business owner. So doing that changes the structure of your income statement. It now involves withholdings and payroll expenses, but it flushes out in the wash that your tax burden could be less when you go that way versus paying full self-employment taxes. Not going to go any more further into that, but you hear it once, digest it, you'll get a copy of the slides. It's a good thing to maybe read about, or at some point, maybe you'd want to speak to your accountant about that. So just know, at the SBDC, we're here to help. We will walk you through the entire process of forming and registering your business. For the purposes of this discussion from this point forward, I'm just going to talk about the limited liability company. Most small businesses decide that LLCs are probably the best way to go. And, we can help you do a corporation. We can walk you through a sole prop. But for the purposes of the LLC, everything is done online. And I think we mentioned it's a multi-step process. You file your articles of formation, and you get your tax ID from the IRS, and ultimately you register the business with the Division of Taxation. It is meant to be done by the business owner. Sometimes it can be very confusing. Sometimes people throw their hands up because they don't know if they did it right, or they're afraid to make a mistake, and then they go pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to somebody to do it for them. We recommend that you do it yourself and you let us walk you through it, start to finish, hold your hand through it, and it takes about an hour. It's pretty straightforward, but if here or there you have a question or two, we can make sure that you understand what you're doing and get it all right, and be done and be able to move forward. So we'll make sure you familiarize yourself with the website. We'll make sure you understand all the questions, and knowing the terminology will help. And these are the types of things that are important as business owners, that you're in the know. And you're in the know with what you did to form your business. You know where all your paperwork is, and you know how you're going to maintain your books going forward. So these are the kinds of discussions we'd like to have with you getting started. So this is just a little bit of a reminder that once we're done with any of our formation steps, we must continue to registration. That's the link to the registration page. It's separate from the formation. Can't stress that enough. When you hire a third party, like a LegalZoom, an accountant, a lawyer, just a number of other services that will get your tax ID, they will file your articles of formation. What they do not do for you typically is they do not then go ahead and register the business. So If you have questions on whether or not you're properly registered, make an appointment. We'll look it up. We'll make sure. If not, we'll get you registered. You're not technically allowed to transact business in New Jersey unless you are registered, and having an LLC is not sufficient. It doesn't cost anything for registration, but you must have a business registration certificate. The last thing that's required nowadays is the new federal requirement, new as of January 1, 2024. It's called the Beneficial Ownership Information Report. If you have not filed one, please know that you should. I'm going to go quickly to the site so you can see what it looks like. The federal government now wants to know who owns what. They want to know if you're an LLC owner, they want to have a record of it. Typically, states are regulate the LLCs within their states. They they keep the that's why you register. They know who you are. The federal government in the last few years have had a lot of problems. I guess the IRS has had a lot of problems in managing the number of I would say phony LLCs formed, a lot of tax evasion, a lot of fraudulent companies, shell companies. You hear it in the news. This is a way for them to just say, okay, you have an LLC, please file with us as well. Let us know the name of the business. Let me have your tax ID number. Let me have some proof. And this is what it is. It takes about 5 minutes. How do I file? Let's see. All right, well, this just goes into frequently asked questions. Let's see. The actual page to file. Somewhere. Oh, there we go. File. And you can see here, the e-filing is the easiest. Oh, sorry, right here. Need to file a beneficiary ownership information report. And then here you can see it's the e-file, it's the online. File online, BOIR, prepare and submit. I agree. And then you'll just go through the filing information, the name of your company. The company applicant is you, if you're the one doing it, who the owner is, and submit. Okay. So prior to forming an LLC, the things that you're going to need is a unique business name. So you can click over into the portal and you can type in a name of a business. And you can search to see if it's available. And in this case, sample business is available. I can proceed and form my business using that name. If the name is taken, sometimes just tweaking it by a word, a letter, a space, sometimes that's sufficient. Sometimes it isn't. So you can play with it. Then, as we talked about, you go to the IRS, we get your tax ID. You'll need a couple of codes. Once we're in the process, you'll see there's a link to take you to the database. You'll see what codes represent you. The two that they're most interested in is the NAICS code, sometimes referred to as the NICS code. It's an industry classification. Just we'll try to find the one that best matches what you do. There could be multiple codes that describe your business. Which one is the one that most identifies with the type of revenues that you're pulling in? And then New Jersey has their own set of industry codes. We look through that. We find the one that most suits you. You need a registered agent. You may be your own registered agent in New Jersey. It has to be a New Jersey address, and it cannot be a P.O. box or, we need to have a street name, street address. And if you don't want to be your own registered agent and be the person and the address on record for your company, you can hire a registered agent for as little as $49 a year. Now, as I mentioned, more than one person, we need an operating agreement and a debit or credit card, $125 for the articles of formation. Once we get to the registration, that is free. That's where we're going to need the social security numbers, the names, addresses of all the owners, and which percent distribution of profits that we're allocating to each of the owners. We'll need to know how you wish to be taxed. we talked a little bit about this. Really, the default tax filing for a single member LLC is the Schedule C, single member LLC. If you're more than one, the default tax filing is a 1065. That's a partnership tax filing where you would file the 1065 a month before the due date for your taxes. So if you're an April 15th filer, it's due March 15th. And say that the company made $100 and you're 50-50. Each of you then will take it'll show that you're each responsible for $50 of that income. And then on your personal tax return, come April 15th, you'll file the K1 and report your $50 to the IRS as income. You need to know if the sale of your goods or services are subject to state sales tax. If you're selling products that require sales tax, you must charge the sales tax, you must hold the sales tax, and each quarter you will remit the sales tax. That's something that I have walked many people through their first time. Once they see how easy it is and what they have to do, it's pretty straightforward. Quarterly, you will log into the portal. You'll file your ST50, that's what it's called. And if you sold $100 worth of sales taxable items in the quarter, you would have collected $6.68. And you'll then, at the end of the quarter, log into the portal, report that, and you may then have that $6 and whatever, 65 cents or whatever that number would be, transferred straight up to the Division of Taxation. Some businesses require additional registrations, certifications, insurances, workers' comp. Make sure you're aware of all that. All of that information can be found directly on the New Jersey website through assistance through the different agencies in the state, through the Business Action Center. We can talk more about that. For example, if you're a contractor or a handyman or doing any kind of home improvement work, you need a general contractor's registration. If you're a home and health aide, you have to be licensed as a home health aide. Certain types of contractors, or especially when you're a general contractor, when you go to apply for that registration, it'll tell you there are insurance thresholds. To operate, you need a minimum amount of insurance. And if you have employees and you're going to start a payroll, workers' compensation is required. So knowing a little bit more about some of those rules and regulations, we're here to help you with that. And then you need to identify a bank in which you'd like to open a business bank account. My advice always with that is open up a business bank account where you don't have any monthly fees. They do, it does exist. There's what programming there is, what's out there. And if anybody, the last thing you need as a small business is to be dinged every month, $10, $15 for the luxury of having your account there. Find a small business, a business bank that is friendly to small businesses. Okay, here's some links. So I'm just going to peruse through some of these. You'll get these. Here's the license and certification guide. If you're an accountant in New Jersey, you need to have a certified public accountant license. Let's see, acupuncturist license. See, they tell you what the industry is and where it's regulated from. So acupuncturists are regulated from the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. If I go here and put general contractor, nothing comes up. All right, let's see. Handyman. No. What is just contractor? Home improvement. Okay, here we go. New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. You can see here, you would go straight to the link and then it'll tell you what you need. So you come down to, well, all right. In this case, it just takes you to the Consumer Affairs, and then you have to then keep going and find the applying for a license, English. And then they have anything that's regulated under Consumer Affairs is found here. So you can see all the different things, and then they tell you what additional licensing you may need. Sales tax requirements, here's the booklet. If you're not sure if your items are subject to sales tax, This is where you can find it. There's even subsections, some additional booklets that they've published that gets into like more specifics on certain industries that can be a little confusing, like digital media. But this is the general booklet right here, and it'll go through everything. But let me just, I'm sorry to scroll fast. I hate when people do that, but this is just to give you an example. If you're selling acne products, creams or lotions are exempt from tax, but cleansers or soaps are taxable. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it. You think you know, but you don't. That's interesting. You can see here, they try to cover as much as possible. Where I find it gets a little bit where, you know, I kind of have to constantly look is on the services, because services are generally not subject to sales tax, but some are. So let's go down to services. Give you an example. An appliance repair is taxable. So even though like somebody's coming out to your house to repair something, and that's a service, it's taxable. Usually repairs are taxable. Another fun example is massage services. So they are taxable. If you go to massage and you get a, you know, and you get a massage, it's taxable. But if you have a prescription, it's exempt. So there are nuances, but there's a book, there's a hotline if you have questions. You do have income tax requirements as self-employed individuals. There could be a whole presentation just on this, but just know at the Division of Taxation, if you have questions about, I would say the most important thing to understand, they're always changing the site and how it looks. So now the link looks different. Pay taxes. When we're W-2 employees, we get withholdings taken from our paychecks. So we're constantly paying into our tax burden. When you're self-employed and you're up and running, you are required to have some form of estimated income tax payment set up. You do that both with the federal government and you can do that with the state. So this is the state site where you can set all that up. If you have the ability to speak to an accountant about it, to ask questions to help set you up, not a bad idea. Just so you know how much you should really think about in terms of setting up in the amount that you should be paying quarterly. There can be factors, and that's why it's based on clearly on the income you make each quarter, but it's also based on your tax bracket, and it's based on your family income. So if you're filing jointly with a spouse, you have to take into consideration the whole pot of income. So if you have questions about that, I would say talk to an accountant. And then there's sites to help you with respect to hiring, starting a payroll. We counsel on that all the time. The IRS always has some good pages. I would say a lot of things that are federally tax related, go to the IRS website. That's the encyclopedia. They're the experts. They're the source. You want to be careful when you're going online and looking at different things. Try to go to the source always when you're trying to find something out relating to taxes, or speak to an accountant that you trust. Okay, we talked about insurance and workers' compensation. So on this journey, we want you to be aware that we're here to help you in getting your structure up and running, understanding your startup needs. This is going to be more discussed in part 2 when we start really discussing your business plan. And this is, I guess, a little kind of sneak peek into our next presentation. We're really going to talk about being ready to execute on the operation, which means getting your cash together, knowing what you need to operate your business, week to week, month to month. How much of the budget is coming from your own personal investment called, we call it an equity contribution into your business. How much may have to come from other sources of capital? Do you need a small business loan? Do we need to talk to an SBA lender? Is there a micro loan? Do you need Are there grants? Grants are not really easily come by for real startups, but they do exist once you're up and running. And there are resources available, especially through the state, through the NJEDA. At any given time, there could be some additional assistance we can pull in to help for working capital or for furniture or for lease, new leases. And that's a great resource to look and see what might be available. But all of this is something that we discuss when we're trying to put together a strategic plan moving forward, knowing what our income statement's going to look like, knowing what our balance sheet's going to look like, how we're managing our cash flows in and out of the business, and how we are doing our bookkeeping. Very important. We have resources at the SBDC. We do have from time to time lessons, webinars, in-person sessions on QuickBooks. There are resources in the state, in your local economic development centers. I know in Union, we have a Union County College does workforce development, where if you're an individual looking for assistance on Excel, how to use Excel, how to use QuickBooks, how to use different programs, there are resources available in the state for that. And just as a little FYI, we're always going to tell you when you need to seek professional services. We will not be your personal accountant. We cannot be your lawyer. We can't be your insurance agent. We can educate you, give you some tools, ideas, resources. There are going to be certain times that you may have to seek professional assistance, and that's okay. That's why they are there. And the best you can do to educate yourself beforehand to save yourself money, try to use all the free resources that are available to you. And part of the process, once you're up and running, is if you're interested in growing your sales to the point where you can get government contracts and kind of expand your revenue sources so you can get bigger chunks of work. Getting a state certification is great for that, because it can identify you as a vetted small business enterprise, a vetted women-owned business, minority-owned business, veterans, disabled veterans, LGBTQ plus certifications. These allow for you to be categorized in a group of suppliers for those purchasers of goods and services that are either in the state or through corporate mandates, to give business to the smaller companies. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. And so by doing the state certifications and going through that process, that's something that could assist you. And that's something that we can help you with. We can help you get your certifications. We can do the application with you and give you some resources for where to go seek bids, procurement opportunities, and government contracts. And I think that's about it for this presentation. Okay, so here is a QR code. We're going to open it up to some Q&A. And if you are interested in the journey and getting started, please scan that. You can request counseling. If you're interested in these slides, I think you just have to fill out a short questionnaire or survey. You'll get access to the slides. And what we'd like to do is bring you in, get you started, and run a course with you so that we can get to the point of at least completing a business plan by the time we get to our secondary presentation, and get you up and running so you're good to go. Come 2025, you're on your feet, you're on a roll, and you're in business. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to some Q&A.
All right. Thank you for the presentation, Vanessa. Before we go into the Q&A session, we have 4 questions so far. Let me just double check. Yep, we have 4 questions so far. Just a couple of reminders. If you would like the slides that Vanessa just presented, as she mentioned, please complete our brief survey. The link is being shared in the chat. We'll share it one more time. And this presentation, if you missed any part of it, you had to leave and come back, or you'd like to rewatch, then it will be available on our YouTube channel. And you can just go to YouTube, type NJSBDC, or click on the link. The links you can share, you can save the chat, so you can save the links from there, or you can open the links and then the new window will open from Zoom. All right, so going into the Q&A session, Michael says, I'm also interested in knowing how to set up the DBA. Can you go over the steps to do that, please?
Yes, yes, absolutely. When you create a legal business name in New Jersey, it has to be unique, and that's your legal business name. That's what your tax ID gets assigned to. However, as you point out, you may want to represent yourself under a different name for any given reason, mostly for marketing purposes or a way to identify yourself, or if you have different business lines or sources of revenue, and you want to identify differently, you would create. You refer to it as a DBA, but I want to give you just let you know, in New Jersey, it's called filing an alternate business name. So when you're searching on the site, and thank you, it is something I want to put into this presentation. I'm going to add that as a link. That filing an alternate business name, it costs, it's done right from the New Jersey portal. It's $50 for 5 years. And it allows for you to go under a different name. And then at the end of 5 years, if you'd like to go ahead and renew the alternate business name, you can do that. But it's not, and you can have as many alternate business names as you like.
Got it.
But it's done through the NJ portal.
Got it. It's in that same line of thought, Leah says, can you please explain what a DBA is? And the second part of her question is, how does it relate to the business structure that you discussed at the beginning?
Okay, so think of it as this. I always give I think the best way to do it is give it as an example. Your business name is Vanessa Business, right? It's my business name, Vanessa Business. And that's my legal business name. It's Vanessa Business LLC. I have a tax ID assigned to Vanessa Business LLC. That is my business. In that business, I tutor and I sell jewelry. And when I go around and I'd like to market to people and tell them about my tutoring business, I like to go by the name Vanessa's Tutoring Services. And I can do that when I have an alternate business name, because I am perfectly allowed to represent myself as Vanessa's Tutoring Businesses. I'm a legal business operating under the LLC Vanessa's Business. Same with my jewelry business. I'd like to have a jewelry business called Jewelry by Vanessa. I'm going to make another alternate business name, and I'm going to go and market myself and make business cards up called Jewelry by Vanessa. And ultimately, at the end of the year, I pool all my revenues together and I file a Schedule C tax filing. And the Schedule C tax filing is under my LLC legal name. And that, but I'm pulling all the revenue that I've gotten from both the tutoring business and the jewelry business. So it's really a marketing designation or a trade name, if you will. And I hate to use the word trade name because that's mostly associated when you apply for a trade name through the sole proprietorship. But think of it, and that's why New Jersey calls it alternate business name. It's just another way you want to be identified. The only time you don't want to put alternate business names, multiple alternate business names under your LLC umbrella is if the liabilities are so severe that if, God forbid, you screw up on one side and you're to be sued, please know that all the assets held under the legal LLC umbrella are going to be at risk. So don't buy the beach house rental and have the Uber business under the same LLC umbrella, because God forbid you get into a car accident, you don't need your real estate investment being taken away from you because you're all under the same umbrella. So I hope that answers the question.
Yep. A follow-up question from Eugenie said, is it possible to have multiple DBAs?
Yes, multiple DBAs, $50 for 5 years.
For 5 years. All right.
For each one.
For each DBA. Yep. Anonymous says, I'm still new to the business. I was wondering in regards to the NICS codes, what if my industry changed? Do I need to update my business registration?
You know, I don't think so. When you register, they ask you for it. And I think that's for statistical purposes. I think the state wants to have some data that at any given time they can say over the course of a year, we had 200 new, it's probably more than that, 200 new businesses formed. And with X% in the manufacturing, X% in the retail, and then they don't care after that. So because on the registration amendment, there's a registration, if you have to change an address or anything like that, you go to there's a page. Nowhere does it say on that amendment page, hey, do you have a new NICS code? So I wouldn't worry about it. The only time those codes become important for changing is if you're interested in procurement and you're signed up either through the sam.gov, that's the federal procurement site, or if you have a New Jersey state certification and through the Department of State, they ask for your codes because that's how they identify you to offer you opportunities for bidding. So that's when the codes really matter. And you can pick as many codes as you want. And if they change, or if you want to add one, you get back in, you can edit it once you're looking to do state certifications. But just the act of the initial New Jersey registration, we have to come up with a Jersey code, we have to come up with a NICS code. A year later, you do something different, or there's no place to even amend it. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Got it. Thank you for that. Next question is from Jade. Where can I find state representatives for $49 a month when registering for an LLC?
Okay. I'll put let me put the link in the chat. I just have to preface this. I'm not recommending them as like we're not allowed to give personal recommendations of private businesses. But what do you think, Uzma? I'm just going to maybe put an example. This is an example of a place that you can go to, and you may see that it says $49 on it. So this is just an example of a place.
We can do that.
Work?
Just
We
can do that. Just a disclaimer is that we're not endorsing them. This is just an example.
Okay.
Anytime we make recommendations, we have to give out 3 recommendations, and we don't say go with this one. It's always up to our client's discretion to do and their due diligence to do their research, things like that, and pick whatever works the best for you.
I don't know what I just probably did something I shouldn't have done. Okay. Let me get back here. Let me get back. Yep. So anyway, as I'm getting this back up and running, I'm going to put the thing up in I'm going to put the link in the chat. I just want to say that when you're doing it, any registered agent, okay, so any registered agent that you sign up for is going to try and sell you lots of services. You have to look at it carefully. If you only just need them for their address, I just put it in the chat. You just need them for the purposes of the bare bones minimum so that you could use their address and they can take in the mail that comes from the state. If God forbid you were sued, they'll accept the legal paperwork. Then you just sign up for the bare minimum of $49. Sometimes registered agents want to charge you for filing an annual report, for filing your beneficiary ownership information report, for doing all other sorts of things. They provide a service, but you're going to pay for it. You can file your own annual report. At the end of every year, you'll get a notification. They tell you where to go. If you can order something off Amazon, you can file your annual report because it's going on the computer. It's logging in to your portal and it's putting your credit card information in. You don't need to pay a third party $250 in order for them to pay your $75. So that's a little bit of a warning to you. But many times you do have to have an outside registered agent because you don't want to use your home address. That's fine. So that's why I say try to find one with the lowest annual expense for the bare minimum of being your registered agent. So we can move on.
All right. Thank you for that. And we always recommend, Vanessa, I'm sure you'll agree, that for detailed processes and procedures and whatever it is, feel free to schedule an appointment with us to register as a client if you are not already. If you already have a profile in our database, then all you have to do, and you've been assigned a consultant, all you have to do is reach back out to them or ask them to speak with Vanessa or some of our other team members. All right, next question is from Anonymous. I paid LegalZoom for formation and filed for EIN. I need to properly structure my business. I've had it registered for a couple of years with no understanding of how to operate it. Please help.
Okay. How to operate the business?
Yep.
I
think
so
this
one thing I
definitely,
would
sorry,
requires
Vanessa,
an
I think this
appointment.
is something that warranties a session with you or the team.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. The only thing I want to say is if you had a third party set your business up, make sure you're registered. My understanding, and I've never seen LegalZoom register you. I just see that the service just includes the filing of the articles of formation and the tax ID.
All right, and we have, two more questions now. Brianna says, what's the difference between S Corp and a C Corp for taxation?
Okay, so a C Corp and a basic C Corp, when you get to the net income line, you get to your profit, the corporation itself is subject to a corporate tax rate. So the corporation is going to, if you have $100 in income and the corporate tax rate is 21%, the corporation has to pay $21. And then what's left is, do my math, $79. Now the shareholders have to pay taxes on the $79. And if you're the only owner, there you go. You've just paid taxes twice. You paid a corporate tax rate, and now you're going to pay a shareholder tax rate. Filing as an S Corp when you're a C Corp takes away the corporate tax rate. It's an allowance that the IRS came up with years ago to help small businesses avoid a double taxation tax penalty, provided that you have 100 or fewer shareholders, provided that you only have common stock, not any kind of preferred stock. You do have the opportunity to take your corporation and file for S Corp tax designation, and it thereby limits the corporate tax rate.
Next question is, so we have two questions related to sole proprietorship.
Okay.
One is, if I set up as a sole proprietor with a trade name that is different than my own name, do I have checks made out to the personal name to match the name on the bank account? So for example, the trade name is New Business and my name is John Smith. Would the checks need to be made to John Smith?
Either. I believe either. The person to ask is the bank, but see, because you can deposit your money into your personal account and there's no issue, check can be made out to you. I think typically when you represent yourself as a trade name, as a sole proprietor, and you get that at the county clerk, you can alert the bank that you have a trade name. You show them the paperwork. So if the check was made out to the trade name, they'll accept it, and then you can sign for it as the owner. That's my understanding. So either.
Understood. All right, and then the next question related to that was, do sole proprietors need to register with the state and fill out the beneficial ownership info for federal?
They have to register with the state. They do not have to, they do not file the beneficial ownership information report. That's just the LLCs
Got it.
and corporations. But sole props do register with the state. Now, and yeah, the answer is yes.
Got it. Next question is, when I change my registered agent, where do I update that?
I want to just go back to that the question about sole props.
Okay.
If you're just like a single gig person and you're getting 1099s and you want to call yourself a sole proprietor that way, I don't think you have to register yourself. You're just filing, it's additional income. You know, you get a 1099, you're yourself, you're a person, that's it. But if you go to the county clerk, you get a trade name and you're doing something that requires taxation, there are taxation, state tax implications. That's when you really have to register. So as a sole prop, if you're selling, you know, cute things, you know, you have a little store, you do have a little website, you're selling mugs, that's all subject to state sales tax. So even though you're sole proprietor, you have to collect sales tax to remit it. So for tax purposes is why you would register. And if you get a trade name and you're operating, then I do believe that at that point you need to register. So there's a difference between like a sole proprietorship that you're a business, you're transacting business, you're marketing yourself, you're out there, versus if you're just a gig worker, you know, making money here, making money there as yourself under your Social Security. So I think there's a little bit of a differentiation there, not 100%. I think if you have a question about that, best to make an appointment.
Yep. Next question was, for registered agent information, where can that be updated?
Right on the New Jersey portal, you go right to the portal and it says, you know, change registered agent. You log in, change your registered agent, and it costs $25.
Yep. And this is the last question that we'll take from Eleanor. I have an S Corp since 2006. Right now I do e-commerce. I have a new accountant and she suggested that I change to LLC instead of the S Corp because I'm a one-person business and my gross income is below $100,000. Does that make sense to change the structure from the S Corp to LLC?
I can't answer about what makes sense for you personally, but you can, and I'm going to assume when you say you're an S Corp, that means you're a corporation. You are incorporated with S Corp tax designation. I'm assuming that's what you're saying, that you are in fact incorporated. You can take your corporation and you can transition it to an LLC. You're allowed to do that in New Jersey now. You can, if you're an LLC taxed as an S Corp, and your accountant said you don't have to be taxed as an S Corp, you just have to be taxed, you could be taxed as a single member LLC, then that's just a checkbox with the IRS that you can change from year to year. You can change how you're taxed. I hope that's clear. So I wasn't sure from your question if you're incorporated and you're asking me, can I as a corporation now become an LLC? The answer is yes. There's paperwork for that.
All right, and that concludes our Q&A session. And I will start sharing my screen again. Vanessa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our attendees, our audience that is still with us right now, there will be a part 2. And Vanessa, I don't know if you mentioned it, but part 2 will be about business plans, right?
Yes, well, we're gonna look at the business plan and how to think about the business plan in part 2.
Exactly. So that's something that you should keep an eye out to. Our audience that it's still here, definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll share it on our Eventbrite, our event registration pages, all of that. What you're seeing on your screen at the moment is our NJSBDC.com homepage. This is where all our information, anything about the organization, anything about our upcoming events, our blog posts, everything, the resources, the podcast, our new show that we're doing, Empower to Grow, things like that. You'll find it all here. If you're a small business owner, I definitely recommend that you take at least 5 minutes out of your day to go through our website or NJEDA's website, SBA's website, all the small businesses resources that are at no cost to you. There may be some costs down the road for certain things, but resources that are available to you at no cost, please take advantage of that. They're only there to benefit you. So the things that I just want to quickly go over, events, I'll go over this, but resources and data, we have a toolkit that on our page. I think we created this during the COVID time in 2020, I believe. And since then, we've been updating this to federal business resources, whether it's sam.gov for registering or any other templates that we have, marketing templates, business templates directly from SBA.gov. Anything related to chambers of commerce and the organizations that I just mentioned, like NJEDA, NBAC, NJBAC, business.nj.gov. Look out for updates and press releases and grants and programs that are usually put out. So take a look at these things and go through them and review them. Next page that I'd like to show is you go to the tabs, go to the NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars, and this is the user page that I've been talking about. So when you go there, it'll show you all the webinars that we've been doing for the past 2-3 years, however many that we've done all these years, on all sorts of topics. Definitely check it out. Our most recent is available here as well. So keep going, look for the topics. Next is the events tab again, statewide events. Now, earlier in the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that we have 11 locations, including our state office, as well as our satellite office and the regional centers. This is where all the events and workshops that our network is planning and hosting up until, I believe, end of the year, December. This is where they'll be located. You can find any topic, whether they are free or there is a fee, whether they're online or they're in person, whether they're in English or in Spanish, you'll find them here. Also, while I mentioned the Spanish events and workshops, if you'd like to consult, if you'd like your consultant to be a Spanish speaking consultant, please let us know and we'll definitely make an arrangement and get you connected with a Spanish speaking consultant. That is all I wanted to share about our website, and we already did the Q&A. Something that's coming up Thursday, October 17th, empowering Hispanic-owned businesses for Hispanic Heritage Month and beyond, not just for the Hispanic Heritage Month, which started from September 15th to October 15th, but beyond as well, how to leverage that for your small business. So we'll have Luis de la Hoz, who's the chairman and board of directors for the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, join us and talk about how to empower your Hispanic-owned business. If you have a family member, if you have friends who could benefit from that, or even yourself, then definitely refer this to them or attend yourself. So we've been in practice and we've been helping small businesses for 46 years in the state of New Jersey. We were one of the pilot SBDC programs in the United States of America, and we hope to continue to grow, help you continue to grow with no cost small business consulting, training and events, and small business resources. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you continue to join us, and we hope that you support us just as we support you. Take care and have a great day and have a great week. Bye.